Whew. I think we should start by thanking our patrons. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
All of you. Finally up. Now we're not just at double digits. We're beyond double-digit patrons.
I think that's amazing.
I think
and
it's
I
so
love
much
it.
fun. Yeah. We just started this a year ago with who would possibly give us money to listen to extra content of this nonsense? And we are so happy and just... I don't want to say surprise because that really downplays what we do. But it is sometimes very surprising.
It's a pleasant surprise. Yeah, no, I agree. And it's humbling and it's flattering.
That's what I was looking for. Not surprised, humbled.
I'm surprised as shit that anybody else wants to pay for this crap. No. I mean, seriously, we haven't even talked about the movie and we're 5 minutes in.
Mm-hmm.
And you're paying for this.
You're paying for this.
Yeah,
don't keep reminding them of that. I think it might be best if we don't. But anyway, thank you so much. This is wonderful, and we are so close to our stretch goal, which we're basically one patron away from our stretch goal. So if you know anybody who might be interested, that gets more bonus content to the patrons only.
Hey, recommend a friend.
Yeah. We're not adding for that general audience out there.
No,
if we reach a goal because of money you give us, we're giving the people that give us money more stuff.
Yeah. We give you more. Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
It's a win-win for the patrons.
But let's just talk about the win that our patrons are going to get today or this evening.
In tonight's episode. Yeah. In this episode. Wow.
I hope you're listening to it sitting around a jack-o'-lantern that you just carved and you put a candle in and maybe it's Halloween.
Who knows? Spooky night.
Yes. You have the lights off and you decided I'll put on this show to scare myself. Because this is our Patreon episode of the only... I don't know how hard you'll find this to believe, Jamie, but when I compiled the list of Stephen King movies from the 80s, the reason this is our Patreon movie, this is the only one I had not previously seen.
Oh, so you've seen them all, but why not this one?
I don't know how it escaped me. And then watching it, I was like, how did I never see this before?
Shameful, right?
At every turn, I was like, a wheelchair that's basically a motorcycle. Gary Busey's running around all
pretty
crazy.
Badass. Yeah, Gary Busey at his finest.
And at times it was a subdued Gary Busey. And I enjoy a subdued Gary Busey. Like he wasn't quite...
He wasn't so off the rails
yet.
Yeah.
But you saw flashes of it.
Oh, there was definitely flashes. I love it when he had his little... when he had his alcohol in church. Oh. And he was going to sip on his little... It's a flask.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the kid's mom was like, don't you drink around my boy. And he's about to sip and just looks around like, oh, damn it. That kid's sitting right next to me.
Right. And where's his dad? Where is...
I thought this was a single parent situation.
No, because she
they had
sees
that
the dad every now and then. Yeah. And he drives them and tells them at one point, he yells because she's always getting in trouble, the poor sister, for not being good enough with her brother.
Who is the narrator for no reason in this movie?
Because her narration is so... First of all, she's 15 going on 52.
Right.
She's very
Yes. Okay. All right. So let's get into it.
Let's just get into this full moon. Let's go full moon, full circle. Here we go.
Before we even start, I used to be in middle school through high school. I was a big Stephen King fan, and I read the book, and it's not even really a book. It's a tiny book, like a novella, but not even that long.
Oh, okay.
It's.
I thought you meant it was small and
No, not
size.
physically, not physically tiny. You can't put it in your pocket.
Okay. I was like, oh, they made it like a silver bullet size book.
And I have it at home. So after I watched this, I was like, well, how close is this to the book? And the book's really interesting because since it is a werewolf, the book is laid out like a calendar. Like there's just a chapter for January, February, March. But not even a chapter, only like 3 pages of someone getting killed each month.
I wonder if it goes through a year that they get, because it does start out with a full moon night. Does it start out on a Halloween night and then goes to the full year?
Yeah, I think this is just like the summer.
Well, a lot of killings happen in the town in the small amount of time.
All right, let's get into it because I didn't even.
And I love when the announcement so this town gets ravaged by this killer. They don't know that it's a werewolf, right? So it's a killer,
right?
And like people are just getting brutally murdered in this town, and there's an announcement in this adorable small town on the radio or something that they're like, really, don't leave town. We need to stick together, and a bad idea would be to leave. Right. I'm like, no, you need to evacuate. There is a crazy killer on the loose.
As far as they know, it is a serial killer who lives in this town, and they're like, don't leave. Why would you go anywhere?
There's an announcement that they make. Yeah.
Guys, let's all get together at this bar. And get
where there's this one angry guy. Like,
they don't even call it vigilante justice. I forget what they call it. It's
personal story or something.
I have it in my notes. I can't wait till we get there because they said it so much. I was
and they were so passionate. Private justice. That's what it is.
Everything was like, you talked to my dead son about private justice.
He was tore up.
And I kept thinking it was a guy in the military. I was like, private justice? Stop saying that. So anyway, we get, as we said, if I told you that this movie has Gary Busey, Corey Haim, it's about a werewolf, and it's narrated by Corey Haim's sister, immediately I went, at the end of this movie, Corey Haim is dying.
You thought that's why she's narrating it,
Because why is he not telling the story?
Yeah.
He's there for all of this. She's there for a quarter of the movie.
He's a cripple. That's all I know. Maybe because
my God.
He's a cripple.
The word cripple is thrown around in this movie.
What about his friend's dad? The one that. All right, let's start with our first killing. Let's go also, killing.
Why do they feel the need to set this in 1976? Like it's very specific, like 76. I'm like, well, this was made in like 83. Why?
Right, it doesn't have to be
just a handful of years.
Because you want to think that this is what happened in this town at that time.
I guess if we're talking about a narration, I guess it has to be in the past, but still, it doesn't. None of this has to be in the past.
It doesn't.
Make it the 80s. Did they just have a surplus of like denim jackets, and they're like, well, we got to make this in the 70s?
Just do 70s, yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's when gas-powered wheelchairs were becoming popular.
Oh, when they really took off?
Literally, when they took off. How crazy was that? He had 3 wheelchairs, essentially. He had his original kind of fancy gas-powered one that he could scoot around, and I was like, well, look at this kid. He's crippled, but he's in this fancy. But then he had another one when they drove up to the house. He had like a regular old like hospital-style wheelchair that she helped him out of the car with.
Which was great because you know that Corey Haim did not practice in this thing at all for this movie because the only scene where he's in it, he can barely make it up that tiny incline. I thought he was going to tip backwards at one point.
And I love how the dad, the mom, they all are just like, make the sister help him. Yeah. She puts him in the chair and is like, piss off.
Yeah.
And then he's just left.
And I am not trying to offend any of our listeners. I don't think any of our patrons don't have use of their legs, but just in case, he is quite nimble for a boy who does. He climbs down the side of the house.
He sneaks out of the house. Up. He climbs the tree. He gets up in that tree somehow when he's flying the kite.
I don't know how he got up in that tree.
But he needs her help to get down. He does do, for Corey, I think he does a pretty good job playing a kid who can't use his legs.
Yeah, I thought he was fine. Now, this is before his great downfall, which I think we saw in 3 movies in a row. We saw quite a regression.
Yeah.
So this was very early on. But, yeah, I don't know, everybody in this movie is doing a pretty good job. Like, Nick Nolte is doing a great job.
Oh,
he veers, like I said.
It's not Nick Nolte, it's Gary Busey, but I do the same thing.
Yeah, but he does veer wildly, like I said before, between subdued and just scenery chewing, and you never know who you're going to get.
Yeah, you don't. It's kind of fun.
I was so happy to see him because it almost felt to me like every time I went, wait, isn't Gary Busey in this movie? He just popped up again.
Yeah, I know. He came back.
Yeah, okay.
I know. And sometimes he was comforting. He was very sweet, a very sweet uncle. Loved
Great with the kids.
What is our main character's name? So our 15-year-old girl's the narrator. Her name is Janie, right? Janie is the sister. Marty is our Corey Haim wheelchair character.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I didn't pay attention to the names.
Okay. Well, Marty is he, and Janie is our narrator, and Uncle Red is our Busey. In our opening, though, we get our first killing where what seems like to be kind of a drunk train operator guy, working on the tracks of this little local, I guess, town's train. Known to be a bit of a drinker in the town.
That's what they even say, because clearly a train was responsible for this murder.
His head, like in our first 4 minutes of this movie, his head gets clipped off and rolls off to the side, right?
It is
goes flying.
Comically, you see what kind of looks like a bear's paw come up.
Oh yeah, this
hit
wolf
him,
is...
and then you see a head flipping through the sky, and it falls down next to the tracks. And then this is during the sister's voiceover where she's like, he was known to be a drunk.
Right.
And everyone assumed he had fallen asleep on the track.
And the train ran over decapitated him, basically. Well.
Yeah, I assume a train would do a lot more damage to a body than just cleanly severing the head.
Well, who knows what other kind of damage this werewolf did.
Well, yeah, we did see what he did to that poor lady who's the next one to die.
Oh, wow.
So maybe it was a huge mess.
Yeah, and it could have been train splattering. Well, that's what we first see. And we are also introduced to this, what looks like he could be like a Chuck E. Cheese animatronic band member. Is the werewolf.
That werewolf looks
Just
like garbage.
Yeah.
When they finally show it, I mean, they show glimpses of its face, and I went, this doesn't look very good.
No.
They're never going to show the whole thing. When they show the whole thing, and it looks like a bear puppet, it is laughable.
Yeah, it is. It's not very fierce, I guess.
I was so surprised how badly this looked, and for how badly it looked, that they showed the whole thing. You could just show teeth and those red eyes that just glowed for no reason.
Yeah. And
you
the
could
claw.
get away with that. Yeah. You don't need to show what looked like a wetsuit with fur glued onto it.
Well, and lots of times they did try. What about, where the hell were they? In the swamp when the whole neighborhood, when the town goes in?
Oh, in the swamp? The great swamps of Maine?
Where the hell?
The fog. Where the
so
fog machines.
Foggy.
They brought in, I don't know how many fog machines. At one point, like you said, they walk into fog that's up to their chest.
Okay. So, I'm trying to stick us to some sort of a...
No. I know.
Throughout the movie, we see that these two siblings have, sort of a strained relationship. He's the crippled younger brother that she has to constantly look after. Right. And it's
and the parents are terrible to her.
Oh, yeah, they're not nice to her. They're barely there for him.
Yeah, stop blaming your brother for this.
Yeah.
When he, his friend threw a snake at her and stuff.
Yeah,
and
his
she
friend
fell in a mud puddle. I was glad when that kid got ripped to shreds.
You were. And how about his dad? Well, let's get there.
Oh, the kid's dad?
Yeah.
Listen. Gary Busey, move over, because this guy outacted everyone in this movie.
Wait, what did he say about his son being tore up? I wrote it down when he was like, have you seen my Private Justice? My son was torn to pieces.
I loved it when he sees his son for the first time, and his reaction is, oh, oh. Oh.
But I love it because that actor. Because I was waiting, I was like, "Are they going to show? Are they going to show any bit of the tore up, crazy looking body?" So they had to tell that actor, like, so "This is what you're seeing, okay? This is what you're the dad, and this you're seeing like guts and intestines, and his body is just everywhere." And like this is how this actor who is this a bald cap hairpiece? Like
that's what I was thinking.
What's going on?
It looked
with
fake.
It looked I was like, they're trying to make this 24-year-old look like a middle-aged dad, and he doesn't. So they were like, "Here, we have to do something."
Put that goofy mustache on him. Gave him a bald cap.
And he was so.
Oh, he was my favorite one.
Was
I just wanted him to continue on in the movie. They just disappeared.
I like that he does just disappear.
Oh man, what a
I
shame.
like the other dad too that ends up dying. His friend I thought her name was Gabby, but I guess it's Tammy. When he has to walk home or escort, I guess you should say, Marty in his wheelchair has to escort his one friend home. Because she was. Wait, let's back up because before we get to that, hold on. I like her dad.
Guys, the credits just finished on this movie. We're not into it at all.
We're almost to meeting Tammy, I think is the friend's name. So
there's it starts with this big festival and this big celebration, like the beginning of summer celebration, and this is where we see that Terry O'Quinn is the sheriff of this town.
Oh yes.
I enjoyed seeing him again. And the preacher in this town is Big Ed from Twin Peaks. That's the only thing I kind of know him from.
You would like a Big Ed. You would like to see that Big Ed, sure.
So we're really introduced to all of our main players. At this point.
Oh, no, we don't meet Busey yet, but we've made mention of Uncle Red. We know that the kids are really into this Uncle Red guy, which even in my head, I was like...
We know that he is a raging alcoholic, and he just got a divorce.
Yes, exactly.
Coming to stay with them for just a little while.
And Marty seems to like him, right?
Yes, right. The sister, not a big fan.
No, the mother not so much either, right?
The mother, no, not
not
at all. And we quickly see why.
We were saying that the brother and sister do have like a tense relationship, but Marty is a sweet kind of a kid. And after his friend scares her with the snake and she gets all muddy and has holes in her pantyhose, he brings her money. Right, like change.
Yes, that night to pay for them. It's very sweet.
Yes. He does feel bad. Like even when the snake scares her, he's like, "That wasn't okay," you know. Yeah.
One very quick thing that I think it is important to talk about before they get back. Remember when her dress is ruined and she like goes to hide in the bushes for a second?
Oh yeah.
And then she sees this couple.
Fighting. That's right. We have to mention. I thought they were her parents at first because we didn't really meet the parents. So I thought she was eavesdropping on her parents fighting. Yeah. But it's a man and woman, and the woman has clearly said that she's pregnant, and the man's like, he says, it might be your oven, but it's not my bun.
It ain't my bun in your oven. And we're in Maine.
Yeah,
but there are
every
no
now
accents
and then
like,
we get...
Oh, yeah, last winter. Nobody talks like that in this movie. Everybody has Southern accents or New York accents.
Yes. It's very weird how every now and then some of the like townspeople are very Southern. And then, some of
I love
them
how it's Lawrence Tierney that I guess owns this bar in Maine. He's like, I'm going to go beat that werewolf up with this bat. The accents are way off with this movie. Yeah. They're not in Maine at all.
No. Sorry. So this couple is fighting about her unwanted pregnancy, and he doesn't care about it so much, and she is left to be sad, and for some reason Janie has observed this.
Because she's the narrator.
Oh, right. So she knows everything.
Only time in this movie that they went, oh, this girl's a narrator. Maybe she should be here with this. At every brutal murder, I wanted the camera to pan over and for her to like be looking in the window. Because how does she know how any of this stuff happens in this movie?
Right. Well, the stories were told, I guess.
But even scenes where it's just like Gary Busey and her brother driving home in a car together having a conversation.
Yeah. Or when he gave him the fireworks.
Hey, don't tell anyone about these fireworks. They're
And why? When first of all, that was a very.
I can't do a gravelly Gary Busey. I like when he reveals the wheelchair they made for him, and he goes,
"Oh yeah." Ta-da! The whole exchange they have when Gary Busey's clearly shit-faced and they're playing cards. And then Corey Haim.
We're almost to that point.
When Marty writes.
Because that's just Busey ad-libbing, right? Like those lines are not written down.
Okay. Oh my God, just thinking of it. Okay. It goes on for way too long, too.
It goes on forever. Yelling about baseball. Oh, all right. All right, we need to calm down because we have a brutal murder of a young lady ahead of us. We need to treat that with dignity.
Oh, okay. You're right. Okay. Okay. So, we did meet this girl earlier when Judy.
I don't think that's happened since our Tron episode.
Oh my god. I was just remembering it. We'll get to it. I can't talk about it until we have to talk about it. So I'm going to talk about this girl's, this sad suicidal woman. So, all right. So we see this woman again, this woman that Janie has been caught eavesdropping on, and she's in her home. She apparently lives with her older mother, and she's upstairs, and she even says, like, suiciders, I think she says, go to hell or something. Like
suiciders?
I think that's what she calls herself.
The term.
I think that's what she says, maybe.
I think she says something like suicides go to hell, especially if they're pregnant. Because that's like a murder-suicide, I guess.
Yeah, no, so she's popping pills at her vanity.
Yes.
Ready to just, like, she's so sad, and she is the next victim of this weird werewolf monster thing. Now she was going to die anyway, but not this way, obviously. He's at the window.
Way, but, you know, if you believe as she believes, and not to spoil what the werewolf says later, but he's kind of doing her a favor, I guess.
Yeah.
You're going to go suicide? You get killed by a werewolf, I assume, right into heaven. Come this way.
Right into heaven, right. You and the babe. Come on. Right. The werewolf rips her in half is what we're meant to think, right? Like,
she's pretty brutal. Like, it's the most brutal murder we actually see in this movie because we see, like, claws ripping flesh, and see it sort of tear open. Yeah.
Now, I will say downstairs is her elderly mother who hears all of this screaming and whatever, and I don't know, I guess this would be your reaction. She fumbles around and searches for a gun. For most of the time, her daughter's getting slaughtered upstairs.
It takes her a long time to find this gun and I guess load it. And she is older, make her way up the stairs.
Sure.
Finally get into this room. It is a lengthy process.
Yeah. And in the meantime, her daughter's been just kind of...
totally ripped up and dead.
Yeah.
And everybody in this town has guns. I think that's important to say, too.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone has a gun.
Yeah.
So now we go to this bar. Because we just, again, we're still not through meeting everybody in this town.
True.
So we go to the bar, and did you recognize the creep jerk from this movie? Like the guy who's all up in the sheriff's face?
No, who is that?
For a second, I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah,
he's the dad from Life Goes On.
He is?
You remember that show with Corky and what was the girl's name? She was then in ER later. Yeah, he's the dad in that.
Wow, yeah, because he plays like kind of the town jerk that is upset with the sheriff for not.
Chops.
Yeah, you're right though. You take away the facial hair and you. Yeah, he looked familiar, but I didn't research. But I was like, I don't know, because again, his character was kind of a.
And nothing bad ever happens to him either.
No. No, he leads everyone into that fog, but I don't even think. Oh, and then he becomes a werewolf in that church during the bad dream that.
But that's a
Reverend
dream. Everybody
has.
does.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, other than that, like we don't like his character doesn't. But his character definitely is like this antagonist. Like whenever we're in the bar, he's always like, "What are the police doing?" And people are dying in town.
With this sheriff, like
Yeah.
I only assume at some point he probably ran against the sheriff or
maybe
or
they
something
lost,
and
yeah.
lost. Like
Yeah.
he is all up in the sheriff's face. He calls the sheriff's deputy a fat bag of shit.
Yeah,
at that point.
yeah.
Right to his face.
Uh-huh.
He's like, "Oh, you guys, that fat bag of shit there with you."
That guy, the fat bag of shit guy, defends the sheriff a couple of times because
Sure.
again, when they hang out in the bar, and this guy is just always complaining. But is it who's at the bar that tells them lower your thermostats, guys? It's the bar owner. I forget.
Oh, it probably is Lawrence
yeah.
Tierney with that bat,
Yeah.
his peacemaker bat that he's got.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is another piece to the town, is these rowdy bar folk, I guess you could say.
Yeah. This is all kind of before, like, we haven't even met Gary Busey yet.
No, we
Like,
just
it's
know of an
amazing
Uncle
the amount
Red.
of stuff that happens before
Well, and
this.
had we seen Marty or Corey in his motorized chair really jet around, and we get to know the chair as the Silver Bullet. We don't know that's
No, we don't
what
know
it's
it.
called
We
yet.
saw it at that little festival at the beginning
Right.
briefly, but yeah, when he is walking that girl home or whatever they're doing, going past like a scary house or something.
Oh,
I
it's
don't
the
know what
house.
doing.
They're going past the house, so he's like escorting her home, I guess.
Right, yes.
Because she's afraid to walk past. I think that's the house that the suicide lady did. Where the wolf just killed that woman. Or the wolf, whatever.
Okay.
The
No, that
werewolf
makes a
just-
lot more
yeah.
sense. Yeah.
So that's why she's like freaked out to go past it. So
Mm-hmm.
he takes her with his scooter back to the other side of town, I guess, where she lives. It's almost like a Jenny and Forrest moment. Like her dad's
very
like,
much so.
right?
Her dad. This guy. Oh my God, this guy.
I found him very entertaining.
You sent me a picture later, and I'm so glad you were watching this with the closed captions on.
Yes. Yeah.
Because things he says, and right off the bat, too. Like,
Oh,
right
yeah,
at
yeah.
this point.
Well, yeah, so she gets escorted home by him. She's a sweet girl. I think, like I said, Tammy, I think is her name.
Yeah.
And he's like yelling at her, Tammy, come on back in here, help your mama with the laundry. Again, we're in Maine,
a deep
but
Southern
we
accent.
we are very Southern. She points out to Marty when they kind of arrive on her property, like, I've been hearing some noises over there. Her property's set up weird. There's like this greenhouse, and then this like
guy's so
row
proud of his
of like
greenhouse.
Yeah.
How does he have a greenhouse? I
don't
expected at
know.
one point to be like, "You messing with my fancy orchids?" But he's just yelling about pots. But when you get in there, there's ferns.
Yeah.
It's extremely lush.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot going on in there on this crappy little piece of property. So she makes mention to Marty that she's heard weird noises from this greenhouse at night, weird sounds, and doesn't make her feel safe and whatever. But her papa's calling to her, so she goes up. And that's when the papa, one of the first comments he makes is, damn cripples, taking our welfare. Doesn't he say they're never going
They
to work
always
anyway?
End up on welfare.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Let's just electrocute them all.
Yeah.
We'll balance the budget."
That's right.
What? I don't
I
think
don't
that's how
know.
it works.
I don't know. That's how they think up in Maine, I guess.
It is a shame that this girl disappeared because I really thought we were going to have some sort of relationship between she
Yeah, I
and
know.
Corey Haim, but it was
Yeah.
almost like, well, he's got a sister. We don't have room for another girl in this, and
Yeah.
she
But you
just
kind of did. No.
disappears.
Yeah, she disappears. Well, they do make mention at one point about how, I guess after what happened to her father, she just left town. Because they say that at some point. Because he's sad and depressed because there's no fireworks at the... What about that? When they drive up to this thing that's closed, this fair, and it's like no fireworks. And Marty's like, oh, man. And the sister's like, oh, Marty doesn't get what he wants again. Marty doesn't get fireworks, and he's so sad.
I love it, and it's great, and I know this is later, but when Gary Busey's like, so are you telling me that this maniac, he took away your fireworks, and he took away your best girl?
Yeah. Well, and he made her leave town, and then he killed your best friend?
Well, guess what? I got a bunch of fireworks in this bag here. Hide them in the bushes.
I can't tell. It's not Busey, but it's really good.
No.
It's good. It's a good little voice you got there.
It's a more like hyper Busey, but it's not as gravelly.
Though.
Like, yeah, it's what we have to deal with during this
It's what
episode.
we're doing. It's what we're calling our Busey. Anyway,
it's closer to like a Holly Hunter, actually. It's like,
it is.
If I did a Holly Hunter, it would probably sound a lot like it.
It's a little Jodie Foster too, actually.
Right.
Yeah,
they all sound the same. Jodie Foster and Gary Busey.
I hear this role was offered to Jodie, and she turned it down. She was supposed to be Aunt Red.
Aunt Red. Jodie Foster with a bottle of wild turkey.
Just building some motorized wheelchairs for her nephew.
Oh,
P.S. This is when we finally meet Gary Busey, because we've said we've heard of Uncle Red, but we haven't met him yet. Mm-hmm. And now we meet him, and this is when he's at the house. He's at Marty's house, and him and Marty are just getting it on. They're getting along. They're playing cards together. And Marty, first of all, I don't know where the dad is, but Marty's mom is pissed.
She's just
not
in the
happy.
Other room. Like, you can see her in the frame, in the shot. Yeah. She's like in the other room,
and she's
but she
fuming,
is glaring at Gary Busey through this entire scene, because he is a maniac. Like, he is a maniac.
But he does. He's got this nice, like, buddy dialogue. I mean, it's a little inappropriate at times because this is an 11-year-old cripple boy. And Gary Busey's, like, interacting with him like he's his buddy at the, like, poker table.
Yeah, he's talking to a guy like he's sitting at the bar with a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
What is the joke that he tells?
Marty's talking back at him. Oh, I wish I wrote down this joke.
I think the joke is like a guy walks into a bar and he keeps calling the bartender. He's like, "Jackass, fill up my drink. Oh, yeah. Jackass, give me another drink." And Busey delivers this punchline as though it is the funniest thing ever.
He does.
Because he's like, and then somebody asks the bartender, why does he call you that? And he goes, y'all, he always calls me that. And Busey is laughing, raspy, spit is flying out of his mouth.
Yeah, it's intense.
It's insane.
Marty gets a kick out of it. Marty thinks it's the best thing. He loves his Uncle Red.
They're playing cards and they're betting with, I guess, baseball cards, because Gary Busey freaks out and yells at him, "You can't bet managers. You can't bet managers." And then Marty throws down. He's like, "Fine, okay, the Yankees." And he goes, "Oh, piss on the Yankees, piss on the Indians, piss on the Phillies." And
that's right. He just goes on this whole song about pissing on the teams. You're right.
And that's when the mom's like, "All right, it's time for bed."
Meanwhile, he's also got like a full bottle of like, it's either Tito's or Wild Turkey.
It's Wild Turkey.
Is it Wild Turkey?
Yeah. It's like a half. He went through half that bottle while he's sitting there
and
playing
he's just
cards
chugging. Well, he's on his third divorce, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it's time. Marty's got to go to bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's his bedtime. So he's got to scoot his little motorized wheelchair. Now, why... in this small town with their crippled son, they live in a bi-level house. I do not know.
Don't know.
But
I had a lot of. I kind of wanted to know when this happened. Was he born this way? Was this an accident? Because
no, I think
if he was born this way, that is not a good house to have. Or put his bedroom downstairs. Like, come on.
Or they did the next best thing. They got the stair lift thing.
Of course.
That he can ride, and he does. So Mom gets him ready.
Corey Haim ride a stair lift
while making Izies. While making Izies at Gary Busey. It's the best part of this whole movie.
It really is. He's looking at him, smiling. He's looking back, smiling.
They're making goofy faces back and forth the whole time that Corey Haim is slowly going up the stairs.
Oh,
and Busey, just as like lunatic as he was when he was doing the hee-haw, he's making these ridiculous faces at Corey Haim going up the stairs. And the mom can't do anything about it. She's so pissed at this is her brother, I guess, Red. And she's so, I guess, just sad about her crippled son. And she's just bitter that the two have such a nice relationship, right?
There are most points in this movie where Gary Busey is on screen that I think he does stuff that the rest of the cast is unaware that he's going to do. When they're all sitting down for a picnic at that place, and
when they're eating the pork picnic,
and he's like arguing with the dad. He's like, "Oh no, you have that. No, you take that." Wait, no. And then out of nowhere he goes, "I gotta go," and just gets up, and everybody at the table looks like, "This is not supposed to be this scene. What is he doing?"
Oh, man.
But to Gary Busey's drunken character's credit, the mother does have a talk with him, and she says, it's not good for him. Don't drink around him. And like you said, in church, other than that minor slip up, he never does. He never does again.
No, so he does get a little salty with the mom back, though. So the mom is like, you can't act this way around him, and he needs you need to not drink around him. And he gets at the mom and is like, well, you need to stop feeling sorry for him because he's a cripple and just worrying about his cripple needs, I guess.
Cripple everywhere. He's not handicapped. Yeah. He's not, I guess special needs isn't really it, but, and that wasn't a term at the time, but boy.
No, he's a cripple.
Stephen King was punching up this script like, cripple, this is great. People are going to love it.
Oh, and I don't know. When I think cripple, for some reason, I think they were stricken with polio, and they. That's what I think.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I know it's kind of weird, but I did kind of want to know what
his
happened,
backstory.
If anything did happen.
He was attacked by a wolf as a small child, a wolverine or a werewolf.
We see that on this in the movie
as a babe. That's how he lost his legs. Or the power of his legs, because he has his legs. Yeah, we're not Lieutenant Dan over here. We have our legs. So Busey's been given, the lay of the law, no drinking around the kid, and it's clear that Uncle Red and Marty have a very, even though Busey's crazy, they have a nice little relationship.
They have a strong relationship.
And we find out that it was Uncle Red actually that made his motorized wheelchair that he putts around in. That P.S., we didn't mention that when he took his friend home to her house, did the walk for his friend who we don't get to see again, he's constantly, this wheelchair of his runs on gas. And he never seems to remember to fill it up. Because whenever
I don't think he has to pay for it either. I think this is just like on the house.
Yes, because you're the cripple of the town, I guess. Yes. But it's every time he's on some adventure, like when he's coming back from her house, he's like almost out of gas.
Yep. And is the gas station attendant, is he the guy who gets his foot caught in a bear trap later?
Yes.
I think he is. Okay.
And that guy, it's in a trap.
And it's the weirdest little only moment of intentional comic relief in this movie when the guy opens the bear trap and then just lets it go and it slams back on him. I cringed and then I went, I guess this is supposed to be funny.
Funny? I don't know. Was it? I guess.
All right, let's get to
all right.
Maybe your
This is supposed to be funny. So we're meeting.
I'm glad because I was laughing the whole way through this.
Oh, he is great. So we're back at Tammy, I think is her name. Tammy's house.
The girl the horrible guy
home.
Who wanted to electrocute cripples to balance the budget.
Right. And he is watching, first of all, like you said, he's got 3 guns just hanging on his wall, as they do in Maine, I guess.
Sure, yeah.
And he's watching some wrestling on the TV. And the commentary while he watches the wrestling is, again, he's got a Southern accent, right? Doesn't he?
Yeah, no, he's he's the one who had the accent earlier, yeah.
Yeah. Bust his chops.
He's yelling. He's giving them pointers.
Yeah,
Giving the wrestlers tips.
Yep. He knows their moves, which one of them he mentioned, and I was like, oh yeah, there was that move. And he is. This is his night. This is what he does.
He is invested in this crappy wrestling match on TV. So much so that when he hears something happening in his precious greenhouse, he is really put out to have to go deal with this.
But he grabs a rifle off his wall, and he's going to go out there and he's going to blow up asses, is what he says when he goes out. So he's going out there.
He assumes it's a gopher or something.
Some kind of critter is up in his shit. And he's going to take care of it. He's going to blow up some asses.
Yeah, he would call it a critter, right? He probably calls it a critter.
They're critters. So he goes into the greenhouse.
Can you imagine this guy going in for like, I don't know, to audition for this? And he's like, I'm going to go in with my gun. I'm going to shoot this guy. Like, this isn't main. He's like, I know. This is my main accent. This is pretty good, right? And then I imagine they open the door and there's no one else out there to audition.
And they're like, well, okay, you got it. It's all you.
Work on that accent. I mean, it's pretty good. But just, work. We have a few more weeks. Just work on it. We'll see what you show up to the set with.
Well, what does it matter? Then he shows up to the set and Busey's throwing out a southern accent here and there, too. Just here and there. Not all the time.
No, not all the time.
Yeah.
Busey's from all corners of the U.S. at separate times in this movie.
But always very Busey.
He wanders through this greenhouse for a very long time.
There's quite the adventure through the greenhouse. He gets, for as tough as he wrestling man that he is, he gets startled by a spider. It's a very busy greenhouse. Like you said, there's ferns and shit. There's a lot going on in there.
They take a lot of time to show you how nice this greenhouse is. Like, how much care he must have for this.
Yeah.
And he keeps yelling things like, you're in my pots. Get away from my pots. And then every now and then you'll just see like a pile of pots. And
it keeps shaking. Keeps randomly shaking. Like there's a little earthquake tremble happening. And then all of a sudden, up through the floor.
This is a bizarre killing too.
Yeah. Yeah. Because where is it coming from? Up through the floor comes like this like claw, this furry arm, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
With a claw at the end. And down he goes.
Down he goes. And a sharp floorboard like goes through him. And then the creature, the werewolf, drags him then down under.
And eats him, I guess.
Right.
What does it
and
do?
I guess, still people think this is a...
They think it's a murderer, yeah.
At this point, they must think it's a serial, really sick murderer. Like, the way that girl was killed in her room, the way that... I don't know if this guy was eaten or what. Like, this movie needs a scene almost like in Jaws, where somebody goes in and they're like... this isn't a man.
Is that your main accent?
Yeah, that's it. That's my main accent. Pepperidge Farm remembers. This is like somebody needs to come in and be like, this is an animal and some sort of beast that we have to go looking for.
Are you a Kennedy?
Yep. I'm closer than South Carolina or wherever these other people are from.
You're right.
So that's what they need. Like, they need somebody to come
they
in
needed
and be
that
like,
moment
this
to
is
be
not
like
a serial killer. These people are torn to shreds and their organs are missing. Like,
well, our sheriff is really he's
not a great
having
sheriff,
a hard time. Well, he's trying to maintain a sense of like not worrying and I'm on this within his town, but he's really not.
Yes,
he's really not on
a very typical small town sheriff who is not prepared for any of this stuff that happens.
No. So you're right. They need somebody to say, because otherwise, well, first of all, how's the town gonna? What's your next thought? Well, it can't be a crazy killer. It must be a werewolf. Like even when Marty knows and is convinced that there's what's going on and there's a werewolf in town, when he tells Uncle Red, they know. Even Janie and him discuss it. We're going to tell the adults this, but no one's going to believe us when we say this werewolf is killing everyone. So what are we going to do? And even Uncle Red has a hard time believing them. Like, so what you're telling me?
I mean, any adult in this situation, if you take this movie and you try to apply it to your real life, you're not going to believe that it's a literal werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you'd be willing to say, okay, it's probably a bear or maybe it's a wolf or something like that. But nobody says that. Like,
no.
It goes directly from serial killer to werewolf. There's no steps in between.
But you don't have that, like you said. There's no forensics there telling you, well, this murder seems to be done by an animal, not by a human.
Yes. And it's not even as though Terry O'Quinn seems like a bumbling sheriff. He just seems like a good-intentioned, unequipped sheriff.
Well, I think, like you said, he's in over his head. This is a small town. This isn't something he expects. It's not like it's like, well, 30 or, hundreds of years ago, it was rumored to have, at least they don't say that in the story, you know, that this animal was rumored to be in this town, whatever. He does try. Go ahead.
This is when I wrote, isn't the girl telling this story? I want to see like two ferns open up and her to be peeking through as this guy's dragged under the floorboards.
She's like, and that's how Mr. I don't know, McPhee got murdered one night. Yeah, I don't.
She has a southern accent too, I guess.
No, she doesn't though. She's very.
No. She's very California.
Yeah. Very neutral. The sheriff, for what it's worth, does enforce a curfew in town, which then we see everyone kind of scurrying back to their homes before dark and locking themselves in their houses before dark. Oh, my other favorite part's coming up too, when she has to look for the man with one eye, and she goes through the whole town just staring at people. Sorry, okay.
Great.
Wait,
but
let's get to
before
that.
I love this. I absolutely
when they're
love this
flying
scene.
kites
when
together?
They're flying kites. And did you notice they're flying kites in the most heavily wooded area?
They're like, what are you guys doing?
They're like Charlie
Well, he's
Brown.
in a tree. He is in a tree. Marty, our cripple, is somehow gotten himself into a tree to fly his kite. And his friend who scared his sister with the snake is there.
It's so great, though, how his sister comes and she's like, Marty, it's dinner time. Get your... And she takes him away. And then there's this longing look back at his friend just alone.
Yeah, because he knows. Yeah, he looks at his friend because his friend's like, no, I'm going to stay a little while long. And he just looks back at him with that Corey Haim. Like, Corey Haim has this look that he does, and he did it better when he was little because it was cuter. But, like, where he kind of sticks his tongue out of his mouth a little bit, and it's like,
Yeah. Later that look is called the heroine's kicking in right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But when he was little,
it is kind of cute.
Yeah, it's like this adorable, like, I want to say something, but I don't know what to say, and my mouth is open and my tongue, whatever.
And it's just a shot.
And he just stares off at
little kid flying a kite as the camera slowly pulls away, and I'm like, oh man, his friend's dead meat.
I'm like, shit's gonna go down. Yeah, I was like, this kid's gonna get werewolf.
And next to my notes, all in caps, love this kid's father, Herb. My favorite character.
Herb was the dad's name?
Yeah.
Herb? Okay, because Brady is his son. Brady? Well, Brady goes down. Let's just face it, like we said.
Goes down. We don't get to see the carnage, but his dad certainly does. And his dad just walks by the cops. Like, they're like, I don't know.
Well, the sheriff tries to stop him. The sheriff is like...
when you say tries, it's kind of like...
He's like, you don't want to go there.
I'm not sure if you want... Oh, all right. Okay, you're already going.
And he's in, like, this gazebo at the park, too. I guess the werewolf killed him and then moved him over.
Made it to the gazebo.
And the dad, we talked about this earlier. The dad's reaction to seeing his son's carnage is just he
yeah and the camera just sits on this guy.
yeah. And again, I thought we're gonna see like an arm or a really like gross intestines or like just a really beat up face, and we don't.
You go out there and you dig up what's left of my son and you tell him about private justice.
So impassioned.
That is almost the most accurate inflection of what this guy sounds like when he is delivering lines in this movie.
He is very... He should have played the preacher or the deacon or whatever, the reverend.
No, like you said, this guy, whoever was supposed to play this role did not show up, and they grabbed some kid and put him in old man makeup because this,
for the father,
is not an actor.
No. Whoever did this is not an actor.
There's no way he could be.
In his mind, this was his like stellar scene. I'm telling you, when they were like, all right, so your son's died and you see all these parts and now you're so angry because your son was brutally murdered. Like when he's in church and just staring off, just doing this like dead angry to the side stare because this whole town's fucked up and his son was brutally murdered.
And I often wonder that, like, I know Terry O'Quinn at this point in his career was not a big deal, but he'd been in a lot of movies and we've already seen him quite a bit in this podcast. Mm-hmm. When this guy is nose to nose with Terry O'Quinn in this bar and speaking the way he is, how is Terry O'Quinn like, this is a fucking disaster right now?
Yeah.
Like, this is, who hired this man?
Well, because later, or at some point, Terry knew that he was going to have that wonderful scene with Busey where they get to have a nice conversation down at the precinct. I never know what to call it. It's not the office. Downtown.
Oh, yeah, at the office. Yeah, the police office.
Yeah, he knew he would have to... The police officer's office.
Yeah, right.
And they're not suiciders? Are you sure?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I was calling people gas pumpers in our last episode.
Oh, boy. All right.
Gas pumpers and car fixers, I think I said.
This crazy dad that we're speaking of, this terrible actor, he does have to have a funeral for his son. And this is like the third funeral, right? Of this town. Like, this town can't stop having funerals.
Yeah, this is the third one at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Do you think that Drunken Hobo got a funeral at the beginning of this?
Oh, I don't know. They didn't.
It's the third or fourth. We're not sure if he had any family.
Yeah.
Like, if there was a funeral, nobody was there.
Nobody was there, yeah. This is the church scene where Busey hides his alcohol and refuses to drink it. And when leaving the funeral, Uncle Red decides that he's going to drive Marty home. Clearly, Marty is also tore up about this. This was his best friend, right? Yeah. Or one of his really good friends. And Marty, for some reason, sort of has he kind of thinks and says out loud to Uncle Red, like, what if it's a werewolf that's doing all this killings? What if it's not like a crazy psychopathic
Does he say a werewolf
killer?
At this
he
point?
Does.
Oh, he does.
He does.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And
I'm just not sure how he makes that jump. Like,
well, they don't go into like.
Is there anything suspicious about?
Did he study? Yeah. Is he fascinated with werewolves?
That's
you know
what I need to see. I need to see a poster on his bedroom wall of a werewolf, or him with a book at one point.
Right.
Because
where you're like,
kids are crazy, and they would say things like that, like maybe it's a werewolf, but I don't know. There's 1,000 other fictional animals that this could be.
Maybe it had something to do with the moon. Yeah, because he also is like, my friend said she heard that crazy noise in her shed, and he's like,
okay,
but I think
he's piecing it together. I'll give him credit.
Yeah, give him that credit. Yeah. Uncle Red's reaction is like, no, it's psychos come out at the full moon. It's not werewolves. It's a psycho thing, and it's just
I should know. I run around all the time when there's a full moon. Wild turkey. I buy a wild turkey every full moon night.
Oh my god. So much wild turkey. Yeah. Oh, this is the private justice part when we're back at the bar.
Oh my god. The amount of times they say private justice.
They scream it. Well, the sheriff calls it that first, right? Isn't it the sheriff that calls it that first?
Yeah, because he's like, there won't be any private justice around here.
Well, again, it's that one guy. It's the dad from the
Life Goes
On show that, again, is riling up the town. This is
he's
another
dressed
murder.
in fatigues through the whole movie, too.
He's ready. He's ready for war. He's ready for combat. He's riling every bar member up again about, now this is a child that's been killed, and when the sheriff tries to talk about, we can't do that, we can't seek private justice, it's not about that, that's when we get our amazing performance from Brady's dad, where my son was torn to pieces.
Pieces. All right, okay, relax.
Yeah, take
I'm
it
gonna
easy.
go get me some private justice. It sounds like Captain America's sidekick would be called Private Justice. It is so ridiculous. And this sheriff has no control over this crowd.
No,
they
he
all
does.
get up.
No, and there's so many of them all of a sudden. Like, this bar must have been packed.
Yep.
Because it's first they're all, like, going with the sheriff. And they're like, you're right. We can't listen to, like, this other crazy fatigue guy. We just need to, like, keep it cool. But when the dad does his impassioned speech about losing his son.
And it is. If people listening to this, if you have not watched this movie, find this scene because it's a scene that you have seen 1,000 times in movies when two people at a bar are arguing and everybody's getting involved and then everyone goes quiet because you just hear somebody start talking and then everybody kind of like parts so you can see this sad man in a corner delivering this insane monologue.
Yep. And just going off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
And the priest, we do have to say, as they rush out of this bar,
the
priest does try and stop them. And he's like, no, don't do that. They don't listen to him. Everybody gets in their trucks. No. And why do they go to the woods? Like, they still think it's a maniac. They still think it is a serial killer who killed somebody in a house, in a greenhouse, and in
a park.
In a park.
Yeah.
So they go into the spookiest woods ever?
I don't understand that. Yeah, well, let's go where it's foggy and densely wooded. Yes. But I guess they figure they never think maybe he's a member of the community that's gone awry. I think they think that he's like a killer that's hiding.
I guess, but all the murders have taken place in town. Yeah. It's not like people have gone missing when they're going hiking through the woods or something like that. They just decide to go to the scariest location possible.
And they do. They are it, and it's chaos.
Oh, it's chaos.
Somebody even says, like, nobody knows what's going on here.
God.
Like,
I am so glad you noticed that because all you hear are these voices just ADR'd in as they're running through the woods, and at one point you just hear a guy go, "Total disorganization."
Yeah. Chaos.
And it's so foggy. It's
so much fog. Like
those
they crank the fog machine
that
up.
They grab from like a junior high dance are turned up all
There's
the way.
There's like 8 of them, all on one actor at a time. And it's like, again, where are you people? And there's 2 older guys out. Oh, that's the guy that gets stuck in the bear trap.
Right.
I guess that was supposed to be comic relief because I even drew a picture of his face.
Oh, nice.
So if you could see, like, where his mouth is like.
Oh, that's a good picture. Because it's kind of like a scream and a frown at the same time.
Yeah, because that's what he was doing. He was like, when his foot got caught.
There's another point of comedy here, which
Go ahead.
I read so much Stephen King in my life. This is a line Stephen King would write.
Is it?
I guarantee you. Yes.
Bobby, you're going to make lemonade in your pants?
That is, I swear I've read that in a book before because it is, and that's, again, when you're reading a book and you're like, wait, what? And then you just keep reading, and it doesn't stand out as bizarre as it does in this movie.
Especially
when a man is getting murdered by a giant wolf in front of you, and you ask him if he's going to make lemonade in his pants.
And again, a woman character that we don't really know, like she's
who is that?
We don't know who that is, and
of course, the only black character I've seen in this entire movie is the first one killed.
Yeah,
in the woods.
Killed. Yeah, and first, isn't he thrown around for a minute and then killed?
He's like sucked under the fog, and then his body is thrown out against a tree. So I don't know if he's supposed to be dead or what. One guy does get dragged under, and I guess he's so beat up and so torn up that when he pops back up, he looks like a rubber dummy. Like
and he gets spatted. Yeah. The guy with the bat goes down fighting. He's like, the bat's just going back and forth. He's like trying to kick the ass of it, right?
This is one of the craziest parts of this movie because Lawrence Tierney's like, I'm going to beat you with this baseball bat. And he's hitting this thing with a bat, and then he gets dragged under, and you notice that the werewolf has taken his own bat and is now beating him to death with it. And I've seen so many werewolf movies, they never need weapons. Like, they don't. No. They wouldn't understand what a weapon's for, but he uses this bat multiple times in this movie as a wolf.
Yeah, as a wolf, because he's not really all wolf, as we know.
No, he's
but
not.
None of them are. So,
none of them
now.
No werewolves are really werewolves.
Well, yeah, aren't they all kind of transformed from?
I think we could have a separate conversation about werewolf mythology, I guess, if you want, but
wow.
I don't think it matters. Anyway.
All right. Let's get back to the werewolf at hand.
Let's get back to the sadness of no fireworks.
Well, wait, we're not there yet. First, we have to have the terrible dream.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which, for a minute, I thought was a real thing. Because now, so this goes down this swampy, let's search for the killer, and then let's just all get killed.
Yes.
Goes down, and then we're back at church, and the church scenes are just kind of goofy anyway. And the Reverend, I don't know about you, but I had a hunch from the beginning the Reverend was shady. He's the most ethnic-looking person in town.
Is that it? And at first you were like, I'll bet it's that black guy. And now that he's dead, you're like, you know who I bet it is? That Italian-looking priest.
We're back at church and we're having a funeral now for the 7 people we lost in the swamp.
just a mass funeral. Just we'll put all these coffins in a row and I'm sure it'll be fine. Don't leave town,
We'll
everybody.
sing Amazing Grace. Let's sing Amazing. Yeah, don't leave town.
Don't leave town. Everything's fine here.
Yeah. We got to stick together and find whatever it is that's killing everybody. Don't chase it now. That's obvious.
Stick together, but don't go off in the woods and do vigilante justice or private justice, because that's a bad idea.
Stay to the curfew. Lock your doors.
Stay out of your greenhouses. Stay out of your upstairs' bedrooms.
Your upstairs is...
Right. Just kind of sit in your living room. Don't leave your house. I'm sure this will all blow over come fall.
Eventually, yeah. We're just waiting for the next full moon, and then we're hoping it's all gone after that. So we're back at this church, and many people have died, and the Reverend Brady's dad in this church scene goes off the deep end, basically. He, can't, right?
I'm just a little sad because we never see him in the movie after this dream.
I know. You want to see more of him. You want to see him at the very end or push him.
Does he yell at the preacher? Does he say, you're responsible or something like that? Or he's flipping out, right?
I think he's flipping out, yeah. And I think it's more at the you as the whole town. But no, it is the preacher. Because I think whatever the preacher is preaching about, he gets offended by. And that's what kind of takes him off the deep end. And then the Reverend, has a hard time, keeping everybody together.
Right.
And then before...
his composure.
Yes. And then before we know it, everyone in church is just becoming werewolves. They're just, even the dead people are coming out of their coffins and they are all becoming werewolves. But then...
Here's what's important to note about this scene.
Please.
Every single werewolf in this scene looks better than the actual
werewolf. Yes, I agree.
At the end.
Yes, I totally agree.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know how that happened. I don't know how that werewolf ended up looking the way it did in this movie.
Maybe it had to interact so much with such a young, impressionable Corey Haim that they tried to make it. No. Because I was just reading.
Wait, they didn't want to scare Corey Haim, so they made it look like a giant teddy bear?
That was good. That was going to be but that's not right. And I was just reading. I wanted to do a little bit of research on Corey Haim, and I didn't read much, but I read something on, I think it was Wikipedia, about his first movie role that he ever did. He was with, I forget the actor's name, but the scene that he did with the actor after he complimented the actor, and the actor threw him against a wall and tried to choke him, and Corey Haim was 8, and it took people to pull it, and it was the actor later apologized and was yeah, I'm sorry, but that was Corey Haim's first acting gig, how he interacted with the lead. And
you think it was a Johnny Depp? I could see that. Was it Johnny Depp?
No, it wasn't. I forget the guy's name. I don't know. I forget. I should have taken it.
Yeah.
And he was in a movie where he played his son, and I think after the first scene they did together, Corey Haim was like, "Hey, that was like an
older dude."
Yes.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a shame.
I know. So maybe they were like
about those Coreys, the more bad I really do feel.
I know. It's so funny because I look up Corey, like I was looking up Corey Haim, and Corey Feldman must have came out first, and I read all about him before I realized, wait, this is the wrong Corey. I want to know about Haim, not Feldman. They showed a picture at the end. I'm like, wait a minute, this is the dark-haired one. But they have so many similarities. They're both Jewish. They're both from Canada. They're both. I mean, please, we could have, and we kind of did our own podcast just about those two.
We did.
But again, back to the cripple Corey and.
Yep, back to him. No, but this is, we soon find out, because he wakes up screaming, that this whole, this is all a nightmare that the preachers had. And if there was any doubt before this, which you said you had some suspicions, I really didn't.
No.
But the moment, like, then you're like, well, he's the werewolf. Like, what?
Why
did you put this scene in here?
Because you wanted to give us our final,
I know,
clue.
But shouldn't if they didn't have this scene, and I know you had your suspicions, but wouldn't the eye patch reveal have been so much better?
Yeah,
if you didn't see this dream beforehand?
Or if you didn't see him, well, I guess you had to see that somebody woke up from the dream. Because for a minute I was like, this isn't a dream. This whole fucking town is werewolves, and this is what now happened, is they're becoming werewolves.
It should have been like the sheriff's dream.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That would have been great.
Good call.
That would have been great if he burst in the back of the church and all the werewolves turned around and looked at him and he was like, oh no, and then he woke up.
Yeah. And then he woke up because when the Reverend wakes up from the dream, he goes, please, God, let this stop.
Yes, let this stop.
Obviously, the sheriff wants it to stop too. So it would have been a better sheriff dream. You're right.
Bad decision, really.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next thing I have written are, oh no, the fireworks are canceled.
Yeah. I'm like, Marty, no fair.
Right.
So Marty goes with his family to some kind of fair, which is closed down, it seems like. Because, again, there's a murderer loose in the town chopping people to pieces.
You've got to cancel those fireworks. Like, were you really going to go to this fair, guys?
Well, there's a curfew. Everyone's got to be in. We had fireworks at your house when I was there, and fireworks don't happen till it's dark, till after 9 o'clock,
they
right?
show
or 8
up
o'clock,
midday to this.
Yeah,
and I love how I guess no one else in the town told them because they're the only people that
they're the only ones. And again, the dad is just there to drive. He's not there to concern himself with his son or anything else.
I mean, I'm not going to say that fireworks are childish, but since his friend was killed, I assume that Corey Haim and his sister are the only kids left in this town.
Yeah, we don't get to see many others.
No,
right?
we don't see any others.
Yeah, not even at that beginning when we're at the right.
No. There's no kids.
No.
There's them and his friend who skipped town.
Yeah.
The girl. That's it. It's a weird small town, let's say.
It's a weird, tiny small.
How about this line here where he and Gary Busey, this is before the new wheelchair reveal and the fireworks and everything. When Gary Busey's like, hey, where's your sister? What's she up to? And Corey Haim goes, she's just showing off. Acted like
this is what I
I was like, what? That's your sister. You can't use those words
I wrote, we get a salty Marty. Because first he says something like, yeah, people die. People are dying in this town, and there's no fireworks in this town, and my sister's showing off her tits, and this is fucking life right now. Like, he's all just salty Marty. He's not into what's going on.
Who is she showing this off to? This is a family barbecue that we see later.
And what is she, she was just buying 97-cent pantyhose. What is she, what are you talking about? Yeah, he does. Where's your sister showing off her tits? And she's not,
no,
when you see the character or the girl that plays the character, she's not she's not showing off her tits. No, she's not.
She's probably helping your dad make burgers or something.
But he is so salty in this scene with Uncle Red. But that's why Uncle Red decides that he has to do the big reveal for the new silver bullet. It's an absolute ass kicker. That's what he calls it. It's an ass kicker.
The whole reveal of this, and the whole time he's like, don't tell your mom. It's super dangerous. You got to be really careful. Don't tell anybody about that. And then the next scene, he's just sitting in it next to the picnic table.
Okay.
Starts it up and drives away. Like, this is not a secret. What's the secret here?
We can all see. Well, they don't know how powerful it is. And even Marty goes for a joyride with it. Wait, this was before. Oh, yeah, because when he first gives it to him, Marty goes for his first ride
in
it.
And he like the street a little bit. Yeah.
And he cruises past other cars, though. It's not just like a little, like, he's on it. And he comes back to Uncle Red, and Uncle Red's like, I was a little bit worried about you. Like, that thing goes so fast, and I don't want you to get in trouble or get hurt on it. So please just be responsible with it because I love you and I made it because I loved you and yada, yada, yada.
He is very sweet. And it's so nice because even later on when he gets in his little... He's got like this goofy tiny sports car. And he's Now remember, don't stay out too late. I really care about you. I don't want anything to happen to you. And he is really sweet to this little kid.
He loves him.
Their relationship is really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, they have this nice barbecue where even the mom gets along nicely with Uncle Red.
And this is again when this dad's there. I'm like, who's this
guy?
They're married?
Well, and maybe that's why she's showing off her tits because she has like a boyfriend there or something. The sister.
Oh, is there some other kid there? I didn't really
notice.
Yeah,
there's another like teenage boy there that he says goodbye to.
Notice. Okay.
Maybe that's who she's showing her tits off to. I don't know, but But yeah, this is a really goofy little impromptu barbecue at the house. But everybody seems to be like so happy, and even the mom says to Uncle Red or Gary Busey, like, "Yeah, I had a good time. I wish it could always be like this." And that's when he's like, "Gotta go, burr, burr, burr.
I gotta go. I gotta go." And he just gets up and leaves. Marty, walk me to my car.
And wheel me to your car. Show me, silver bullet me to your car. So he, after his little like heart to heart with Marty about like, be safe and I love you. Marty kind of doesn't listen. Again, salty Marty.
Mm-hmm. He goes out on his own at night.
Yes. Oh, wait. Well, we mentioned this, but this is when he also gives him the fireworks, or had he already given him the fireworks?
He already gave them to him.
Oh, yeah.
But told him
to now,
hide him in the bushes.
But now he's got his new silver bullet and the fireworks, so he goes into like, I guess it's that same park, maybe like someplace where there's a bridge.
Yeah, I'd call it Murder Park. He went back to Murder Park.
Okay, good call. And he's just like so excited to be letting off these fireworks by himself.
For a kid lighting off tiny fireworks on his own, he is having the time of his life.
He's like, yeah, woo, this one's for the good guys.
Everyone is just, wow, look at this. Oh, man, fireworks are so stupid.
Now, I guess the werewolf was maybe hanging out in the water where the fireworks are going off. The werewolf was very nearby, and all of this fireworking has disturbed him. And the werewolf comes at him, like right there on the same bridge, like
it's
ready
this
to.
Tiny little like one-person bridge. The werewolf starts to run across, and even Gary Busey gives him this rock, and he's like, "This is the best one. Save this for the end." And he does.
He shoots it right in his eye.
Yeah. And this is the first moment I finally see this big, goofy looking werewolf with a rocket with sparks shooting out of its eye. Yep. It looks hilarious.
It looks so fucking goofy. Marty's got to book it. Like, he's just gotten the werewolf in the eye with the fireworks, and now he starts up the silver bullet. And again, low on gas, right? Is he low on gas at this point? Probably, because he always is.
He's always low on gas.
And he rushes the fuck home. First, he calls Uncle Red to be like, "You'll never guess what I just saw. I shot a werewolf in the eye." And Uncle Red's like hung over and laid up with another lady in the bed. And he's like, he just doesn't believe in werewolves or whatever. Right. And he's just like, "Come on, give your uncle a break." It's kind of sweet that this is the first person he thinks to go to is his Uncle Marty to say like, "Oh my God, I saw." Yes. So when Uncle Marty doesn't believe him, he decides to tell his sister Jane. she again, her narration comes back in where she's like, I wasn't sure what to believe, but I knew he believed it. So
Jane's narration comes back. At this point, we've, I think, seen that she has seen this werewolf kill everyone. She's been eyewitness to all of these, and she does not quite believe her brother. She's
unsure, but he's convinced that whoever it is now, whoever is the werewolf. And again, I wish we knew, like, does he study werewolves so that he knows that a werewolf is a human when the moon isn't full or whatever? Anyway.
I imagine her as an older lady telling this story to somebody and just being like, when the werewolf killed that pregnant woman, I imagine it would be something like this.
Oh, yeah.
She just makes it all up.
And she tells it well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. She decides that it's worth at least kind of looking into his hunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she collects cans, recyclables anyway from the town. And so she decides to take it upon herself.
I'm just laughing at the amount of cans in this preacher's garage.
Oh, yeah. How much he stores. Well, how much so she goes looking for a one-eyed man or woman. And basically she goes through the town. She goes through the barber shop. She goes through, where else does she go?
I don't know. It's just all the little stores and all the little places that we've seen throughout this movie.
She stares at everyone
to
see who's got.
Like stares at both of their eyes just to be sure they're real, I guess.
She knocks on the door. There's a man. She goes to the barbershop where the one guy's getting his hair cut and another guy's kind of got his face wrapped. He must be getting a shave.
That's the creep. That's the dad from Life Goes On. Yeah.
But she unwraps his face to make sure that he's got two eyes. And he even is like,
yeah, he looks at her like, what? And she's like, do you have any cans?
Yeah. She just stares. And anyway, she can't find anybody in the town with one eye. So she goes to bring all of her cans to church, to the Reverend, and while he's tending to the garden, she doesn't see his face, but we do.
I loved this reveal, and I was really bummed out that we saw the dream. Just because the camera goes down and it's low, so you see her walking her bike in the background, and he's facing us, but his head's down, and then he looks up and you see this big goofy white patch
very
over
terrible.
his eye.
Yeah. And you see his look like I am a werewolf. And she goes back to his shed or his garage where he's keeping all the recyclables, and it must have a stanky smell, and something just is amiss about it when she goes in there.
Right? I mean, amongst this huge pile of cans, she finds the bartender's bat.
Yeah, the peacemaker bat.
Yes, and that's what tips her off. Mm-hmm. And of course, she turns around and there he is with the eye patch.
And he tells her, how's your brother, right?
And she's just like, gotta go. And just kind of goes.
Well, because now she knows. She's like, oh my God, he was totally right. And now it's this guy, and holy fuck, what do we do? So their idea is to send
doesn't make any sense.
Like a ransom style note, like when you cut out letters of I love it. Yep. Like Who's Harry Crumb style, like cut out letters of a magazine.
Right, just like an old, a traditional ransom letter.
Yes.
Like, we know what you did, you werewolf man.
Ransom letter, Who's Harry Crumb style. Anyway, sorry, I just had to repeat what I just said.
You were in Who's Harry Crumb for a second.
I did. And I went, did you see how I did that? Yeah.
You had to almost pull yourself out and back into Silver Bullets. You were like, no, Annie Potts, no!
It's okay. I'm here now, though. I'm here now. And they write this letter. Mm-hmm. I know who you are and what you are. You should kill yourself, basically. Trying to encourage the werewolf to just end his own life.
Listen, werewolf, just do the right thing. Come on.
And they mail, we get told, 3 letters get mailed eventually. And they don't know what else to do, so they finally do tell Uncle Red.
Right.
That they've been sending these letters. And Uncle Red is pissed at first. He's like, what is wrong with you guys?
Wait, you've been sending threatening letters to the preacher?
And I think he says that the whole thing, because Marty keeps insisting, but the firecracker and the werewolf and then the one eye, that's why we're putting it all together. And Uncle Red's like, no, it's all just an hallucination. It's not, none of this really happened. you need to just stop.
And also, in a weird way, I assume by this point, it's been a long time since someone has been killed in this town.
Yeah, now we've gotten a little rest.
He unsuccessfully tried to kill Corey Haim, but we don't see any other murders.
Well, he tried to kill him, first on the bridge, and now we have another time when he
on another bridge. Like, bridges are his thing.
That's his place to murder a child.
Yeah.
Cripple one at that.
Yeah, this preacher just hangs out in bridges and waits for kids, I guess.
So, well, when you're preacher/werewolf. Marty goes to watch some kids play baseball and be sad about the fact that he doesn't have legs.
Yeah,
that work?
Know. I do have to admit, at this point, I fell asleep for a little bit. Just
a
little bit.
Just a little?
I was in and out during this encounter between the two of them.
Okay.
And then by the time Busey goes to the cops, I was back in.
But you were back in. All right.
I was
in
and out for a minute.
Marty basically, this is where the Reverend catches up with Marty. Mm-hmm. Marty goes to a baseball field to watch some kids play baseball. This is where we see more kids, P.S. We were just saying there's no other kids in town. This is where we see more kids.
Maybe he has to go to the next town over. Maybe that's across that
That's
bridge.
why. That's why. That's where he runs on, why he has no gas again.
Yeah.
So when Marty leaves to go cruising back home on his silver bullet, he is followed by the Reverend, who is in his car and tries to literally run him off the road.
I'm going to take your word for this. I was asleep at this point.
I know. I'm going to ride us through this one. They get stuck. Then he gets him somehow on a like a 1-lane bridge, and luckily this bridge is on some guy's property. Because as the Reverend is like pretty close to like just getting Marty's car, his wheelchair has run out of gas. Mm-hmm. It is on E, and now he's kind of shit out of luck. But this bridge is on someone's property. He yells to someone, and then the Reverend drives off and disappears. And the property owner's like, "Oh yeah, it is a scary bridge." And
it's a scary bridge, kid. Thanks for yelling. I was on a tractor. I don't know how I heard you. Because I did see that part where he's like, Mr. Thompson. This guy's on a tractor, like, looking around like, I think somebody just called my name. I'll just shut this off and go check this out.
And there it is. It's little crippled Marty. And then they tell Uncle Marty again, like, no, this is happening. And Uncle Marty still doesn't believe him until he sees on the side of the silver bullet there's some scratchings from a car. And he says to the Sister Janie, what color is the Reverend's car? And she says, blue. Like that color blue, she says, as she points to the markings on the silver bullet. And
I'm the narrator. Believe me when I say.
Now Uncle Red is in. He's like, all right, this is a little suspicious. So he decides to go to the sheriff. And even the sheriff is like, you don't believe this whole werewolf thing. Right. And he's like, well, all I'm saying is check out the Reverend. He has one eye. And you should just check him out, right?
This is pretty gruesome, too.
Yeah.
I was surprised with the little... He beats him to death with a bat, like, and we see it. Like, we actually see
he gets bashed in. Right. Yeah. First, we think he's onto something. We're like, oh, yeah, because he sees the car and the markings.
The day.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, he's going to get...
Nay, he just stands there. He has a gun. He stands there and lets the preacher hit him in the head with a bat several times. With long stretches of time between the
where he's just like, yep.
He staggers back and falls down.
With little much.
Watches him transform into a werewolf.
Yeah.
And continue, now that he's a werewolf, of course he continues using that bat.
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you? You're a werewolf. You have so much power. You use a baseball bat.
And poor Terry O'Quinn is dead.
Dunsies. He's dunsies. All gone.
Gary Busey is okay. Uncle Red, Gary Busey, finally buys into this whole thing.
Yeah. Well, because now the sheriff's dead. And they're like, come on, now we can't find the sheriff? What do you think? Yeah.
So Marty sort of convinces him that the only thing that can kill a werewolf is a silver bullet.
Oh, yeah.
Were you going to say something else?
No, well, no, not yet. No, yet. Because I love how Busey... So, they know that the silver bullet is what has to kill the werewolf. And they also know that the next full moon, I guess, is happening over Halloween.
Right.
And Busey knows that they have to get Marty's parents out of town.
Yeah.
So he makes up some phony story
about
that he got because to get Marty's parents to go out of town, Uncle Red makes up this phony story about how he's won a night in New York City from the Publishers Clearinghouse.
Yes. And he's just going to give it to them.
And that's why they're leaving on Halloween night and why the kids are staying with Uncle Red. Because they're going for the night in New York City. It doesn't make
any sense.
It's very weird, but it gets the parents who really didn't do much in the movie for us. Anyway, out of the house.
But before
so it's just Uncle Red and the kids.
Gary Busey goes to some mystical gunsmith.
Yeah.
this guy should have a wizard hat and robe on or something.
Yeah.
This guy crafts this silver bullet for Gary Busey. Just a single one. Just that's it.
Just because it's from the pure silver that is from Marty's crucifix.
Yes.
No, Marty's necklace. Marty has some kind of necklace
Marty
and
has
his sister has a
his
crucifix.
Sister has a necklace. They give it to Gary Busey for this weird man to melt down and make a bullet out
and
of.
Even though Gary Busey comes into the weird man's shop and is like, so my nephew is into I think he says
I introduced my nephew to the Lone Ranger, and now I want to give him a silver bullet. And the guy makes it for him, and he's like, "This is the best bullet I ever made." And Gary Busey's like, "He's not going to shoot it." And the guy seems so bummed out.
No, the guy does make mention of well, you sure it's not for a werewolf? Doesn't he say something at some point?
Oh, yeah,
I think he
does.
I
wrote that down in my notes. This guy knows that werewolves exist.
Yeah. He says, because the other thing is silver bullets, whatever. So Busey gets this specially made silver bullet. Silver bullet, just one. And now they all get together. Now, this is what kind of made me laugh. So this is the night, right? They got the parents out of town.
Is it when Busey's wandering around this room talking like a maniac
when he's
or no?
Walking around the room. Oh, before, because at some point they all pass out Halloween night.
Yes.
And they just
3
fall
a.m.
asleep.
Yeah,
but you're on Werewolf Patrol.
I know you're on Werewolf Patrol, and I know there are 3 of them, but it's still 3 a.m. and nothing's happened.
All right. Until Gary Busey's cigarette goes out on him, I guess, and he wakes up. Is that what?
And even Corey Haim's like, "You're going to burn yourself to death one day." And he's like, I know.
Your Gary Busey imitations are the best. All right.
It's so bad. But this is the point where this is just Gary Busey's one-man show for a couple minutes.
Yes.
Because Corey Haim and his sister moved to one end of the room and just sit and just watch as Gary Busey wanders around
and he does this,
waving a gun going, I can't believe I believed you. There's no werewolf. Oh, did you see one out this window? There's nothing out there, little girl.
Well, because she screams. Because she does. The werewolf is there at a certain time. Yeah. He does this whole... It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's these crazy ramblings of this, he can't believe that this is what he's done, but at the same time, it's what you're doing. And then... all of a sudden,
the werewolf shows up. It tosses Gary Busey quite a bit.
It's kind of like that scene in the Lost Boys, is it? When they're fighting in the one room and all
they're flying.
Yes.
Yeah, Gary Busey's the one flying, and he's flying into mirrors and walls.
Oh man! And the werewolf does take Janie by the neck at one point, right? And kind of squeezes her. Now, Gary, we should mention that right before the werewolf attacked, Gary Busey, for some reason in his rant, decides to take the bullet out of the chamber of the gun. And when the werewolf attacks, the bullet goes flying into a vent.
Yeah, into a vent.
On the floor that somehow the cripple was able to reach.
He was able to get the vent open and reach down or something like that to get the bullet. He had the gun. I guess he picked up the gun too.
Yeah, he's our hero, really.
Yes. And he shoots him in the other eye. I was amazed at
But it's with the deadly silver bullet. And now our werewolf doesn't just die, because you're simply not going to kill the werewolf. We see a whole transformation with close-ups on the arm hair decreasing. and the chest hair decreasing. This transformation is actually better than the full werewolf.
The transformation's very good, yes. Yeah, but he transforms back into the naked preacher who has no eyes. Just black holes in his head.
It's really creepy looking. Really creepy looking.
There's one stupid, like, last-second jump scare.
Oh, yeah, where he leaps back out. Yeah.
And then slumps back down, and he's dead.
Yeah. And then Marty even says, like, don't worry, he's dead. And everyone's like, are you okay, Marty? Are you okay? And he makes some bad joke about, yeah, I'm okay. I just can't feel my leg. And they're like, oh, Marty.
Oh, hilarious. I was ready for just freeze frame on the three.
Yeah. No, but then we have our narrator who comes back and
my God, the end of this movie opened a Pandora's box of questions.
Where's this love going?
She finally says, like, it's been a long time, and I don't think I could have said it then, but now I can. I love you too, Marty. Good night. Wait, is he dead? Did he die? When is she telling us this story?
I don't know, but that's the end.
Something tragic must have happened to him at some point where she's wishing him, she's saying she loves him and saying good night. It's so sad.
It is, yeah.
And
then that's
so sad and confusing at the same time.
And there you have it.
This movie's amazing.
Silver Bullet.
This movie is crazy.
Yeah.
Yes, it's Silver Bullet. If you haven't seen it, you should, because I don't know why you wouldn't. Like Gary Busey, Corey Haim, that's it. I don't know how I didn't see this.
And
originally.
like a scary, again, through this podcast, I realized that the scary movies that I avoided as a child or didn't see as a child, you said you've watched every Stephen King movie. I didn't really.
Except for this somehow.
Was it like a quality, amazing, like, film? No, that's not what this is. But this is a fun Stephen King horror, like you said, hey, it was just a fun movie to just get through. It was never like, oh, draggy. It was just like, oh my gosh, what is I enjoyed it.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. All right. Well, that's how we wrap these ones
up.
That's how we wrap these what we do.
Episodes. Yeah.
We're done. No recommendations.
No, we're not going to recommend. I recommend you watch it. That's what I recommend.
Although at the end of all of these, and again, Jamie, I have to send you the little link so you can hear these. At the end, I always put a very somewhat lengthy scene from the movie, so I'm not sure what I'm going to pick.
Ooh.
It could be that crazy bald man's dialogue.
Oh.
It could be, it could just be Gary Busey for a long time. Maybe, ta-da! I don't know. I have no idea what's going to be at the end of this right now. But our patrons will hear it in just a couple seconds.
Oh, my God. So good.
So thanks for listening again. Thanks for supporting us.
Thank you for the support always. I hope that you enjoyed this titular episode. Because it is titular. He rides a silver bullet. He kills him with a silver bullet. Such a titular one.
Silver bullets all over the place. All right, everybody. We will talk to you soon on a regular episode where we have more Stephen King for you. So much.
Lots more coming, right?
2 more episodes, and I didn't think Jamie would be this excited.
I am.
Tune in.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye.
It's called private justice. And private justice is about a step and a half away from lynch mobs and hang ropes. Now, I may be no J. Edgar Hoover, but I am the law in Tarker's Mills. I want all you people to go home.
Don't let this guy scare you. And what's he done since this whole thing started but hang his face out? He ain't got so much as a fingerprint.
Shut up, Andy.
No, don't tell me to shut up.
Yes. Shut up.
I just came from my boy's funeral.
Herb?
Herb,
I know how upset, how grief-stricken you must be.
he was torn apart.
I know that.
upset, grief-stricken. You don't know what those words mean. My son was torn to pieces. Pieces. My son was torn to pieces! You come in here and talk to these men about private justice. You dare to do that? Why don't you go out to Harmony Hill, Sheriff Heller, and dig up what's left of my boy Brady and explain to him about private justice? Would you want to do that? As for me, I'm going to go out and hunt up a little private justice.